Hey guys, off the Mike Sports Network here. So the NBA Finals and the NBA season have concluded. Game 7 goes to the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder win their first NBA championship, 103-91. Um, but let's address the elephant in the room here. Tyrese Haliburton goes out in the first quarter in just a heartbreaking, just gut-wrenching moment. Um, I'd argue it's maybe one of the most heartbreaking injuries in all of sports history because I can't think of a moment where a player as big as Tyrese Haliburton, as important to his team as he is, go like one of the stars of this postseason, one of the most visible names and one of the most visible stars in the league, at least because he's on the biggest stage. In the biggest moment, championship game, game 7, playing his heart out already injured, goes out, hits 3 3-pointers in the first 7 minutes, just falls down. His calf gives out. You could see the Achilles popped. I mean, yes, if you didn't miss it, ESPN showed it to you 10 times, which was a separate part of this. Like, listen, I understand showing injuries, but there's a limit, and they kind of overdid that. But in terms of value, time of the game, importance of the game, this is like a starting quarterback, like a Tom Brady or a Patrick Mahomes tearing their Achilles or blowing their knee out in the Super Bowl. That's what this is. It's like a starting pitcher, like your great. I know this is a bad example, but Paul Skeens. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. That's like Paul Skeens, if ever the Pittsburgh Pirates ever got to the World Series, or if he ever ends up with the Yankees or whatever. Like Paul Skeens blew his arm out and needed to get Tommy John. He blew his elbow out in Game 7 of the World Series. That's what this is. We've seen like Colt McCoy in the national championship years ago with Texas against Alabama. Literally, his shoulder, completely gave out, literally 3-4 plays into the game. Like, I can't think off the top of my head. And if you guys can think of something better, this was as emotional and as heartbreaking and as heart-wrenching it was a gut punch, not just for the Pacers, but for the NBA fans. Even if you're a Thunder fan, you have to admit that your heart sunk because you really wanted to see level up, see this game 7 go. And, Indiana, to their credit, for a half was in this game. And then reality set in. The Thunder were the better team, even with Haliburton in the lineup. The Thunder were clear. They won 18 more games during the regular season, guys. What did you expect was going to happen? Indiana was undermanned. They didn't have their quarterback, really. And to me, it's just thinking to that moment, it's just what Haliburton represented for this team, a buzzer beater in every single round of the playoffs, every 3 of which won games. You had the first round against Milwaukee. You had the second round against my Cavs. You had the tying shot against the Knicks in game 1. Then you obviously had the game winner in the finals in game 1 of this series. There was no, even though Indiana is really built in terms of their depth and their pace, Haliburton is really the identity of that team. And to see him, you knew he was compromised. You didn't know how badly, and they didn't play a lot of minutes. It was sore, but you knew that it was kind of a ticking time bomb. And we saw this with Jason Tatum in the second round against the Knicks. We saw this with Kevin Durant in the final 6 years ago against the Raptors. And, ironically, how did that series turn out? The Raptors won that series due to some injuries. This year, Oklahoma City wins because of some injuries, but Oklahoma City was also the better team. But listen, injuries suck, but the basketball gods robbed us of an all-time ending, potentially. Whether the Pacers won or not, you wanted to see Tyrese Haliburton in this game. And that's why I think this is one of the worst injuries in the history of sports. We've seen injuries during the regular season. We've seen people blow out their knees. We've seen people tear their Achilles. We've seen people break ankles and stuff and have their careers altered, but never on a stage like this. It's like I said, that's like Patrick Mahomes or Joe Burrow or Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers in his prime. Literally, Aaron Rodgers had his Achilles teared literally 4 plays into the season against the Jets. That wasn't the Super Bowl. This was the Super Bowl. This was the championship. And for that to happen in the first quarter after everything that Indiana had done this season, all the resiliency, all the comebacks, all the thrilling moments that they had provided the NBA, one of the most fun rides that I can remember. And this is coming from a guy who had his heart broken. I was sitting in this very chair watching in just disgust and just, frustration and sadness and like any kind of emotion you could think about when Tyrese Haliburton got that rebound against the Cavs and hit the three-pointer with 1 second left, and the Pacers went up 2-0 on my Cleveland Cavaliers. But I grew to respect this team because they never gave up, they never quit, they never surrendered. Even in this game, when it looked like it was going to be dreary, they kept fighting until the very end. It was only a 12-point result, but this was over in the fourth quarter. And you can't help but think to yourself, man, what if Haliburton were still playing? And what if he didn't tear his Achilles? So I'm just devastated. 1, for him. 2, for the Pacers. 3, for the NBA fans. Because in a lot of ways, we were robbed of a lot of different things. Indiana potentially pulling off one of the great underdog stories in the history of the NBA, in the history of sports. Because in some stretches of this series, they outplayed the best team in the NBA. They beat the second best team in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers, in 5 games. You say what you want about the Cavs and injuries. I don't want to hear that. The Pacers were the better team in that series, even if the Cavs were compromised. And who knows what would happen if all those guys were healthy. The Pacers are a damn good team, and they surprised a whole hell of a lot of people. Nobody gave them any respect, even when they were winning games that they shouldn't win. And they were in a position to win a championship. And for that to come down to one injury, really, that really flipped this whole thing and makes you wonder. And I hate this for Oklahoma City in some respect, too, because now people are going to look at it as like a Mickey Mouse championship. I was like, guys, shit happens. I hate it because I wanted to see the underdog story be rewarded for everything that they had done and just how hard they fought and, like, how many times they'd been doubted and counted out. So for what he represents, for how much joy he plays with, he may rub people the wrong way. The story to him, like the overrated shit, like it sucks that he didn't get the just ending and Indiana didn't get the just ending that they deserved. Whether that's a win or a loss, that's the way I look at this. Like Oklahoma City deserves the championship. They were the best team in basketball all year. They won 68 games. They had won 15. Like guys, they won 84 games. They won, or they won 68 games or 64. I can't even remember. I can't even do math anymore. But listen, they won all these games, and they earned the right to host it on their home court. They got some breaks, and they took advantage of it. That's kind of what, like, usually the postseason and the regular season for any season, it's a war of attrition. Cavs had injuries. I'm not making excuses for that. They got beat. Pacers, they got beat. Really, game 4 flipped this series in my mind. But, it makes me, like I said, the way this game played out, it makes you wonder if Haliburton was out there and he was healthy, how would this game have gone? But we'll never know. And that's the thing that sucks about sports. So, like I said, one of the most devastating injuries that I can remember. I hope he gets well. Indiana's going to be around for a long time. But next season's going to be really, really interesting to see how they navigate it. Rick Carlisle is a great coach. He didn't have great moments in this game. But I understand he was in a really tough spot. His best player was out of the game, and you have to alter your rotations, and it just kind of snowballed on them in the third quarter, and ran out of gas. So, yeah, that's the NBA season. But anyway, I got a Cavs spin on this because Halliburton's injury does open up some things for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Cavs fans, you might want to stick around here on the channel and go find that video. That'll be up here shortly. A lot more coming here on the channel. A big week in wrestling. I've already talked about it here on the channel. Is Night of Champions still going to happen? I think it will. Some people have said I'm a fearmonger. Guys, I'm just basically relaying what I've read and what has been detailed to me. I'm not fear-mongering. I'm just, giving you my honest reaction. So we'll see if Night of Champions happens. Big week, big show on Raw, big show on SmackDown. A lot of stuff could happen. So we'll have more here on the channel coming up. Thanks so much to everybody who subscribed. We're over 1,500 subscribers. Love and appreciate the support here on this channel. It's really amazing that all you guys just are supporting a kid from Southern California, from the Valley. I'm just a guy in my apartment doing this, trying to entertain you guys, giving my honest opinions and reactions to stuff like this. And obviously, this video in particular was very unfortunate, but this is sports, man. The exhilaration of victory and the agony of defeat is what they say, right? So, anyway, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys. Bye bye.